We're back again here at SHOT Show 2025 with Josh from Holosun. So there's a lot of new stuff going on this year. They had a really big release just at the tail end of last year. And yeah, we're here to really get into it. So Josh, let's go over what's new for this year.
All right, so we'll continue on that same wavelength of, hey, we just released the Iris 3. Everyone's freaking out. It's super exciting. We know you guys are, if you're watching this video, I know that you're probably already heavily into night vision. And so you've probably already seen some of the videos coming out on the Iris 3. It is simply phenomenal. We put a lot of time and energy into that. Now it's kind of time to round out the rest of the family for the Iris series. So we took all of our LS series that you guys know and love. We updated the housing, reduced a lot of the weight, reduced the bulk, sit at a lot lower form factor to kind of help clear optics, all that kind of stuff. So now we have the Iris 1, which is exactly what it sounds like, a single laser IR, green or red. So if you have just a single gun and you just want an IR laser on there, something simplistic, this is going to be a great option for you to do.
This thing is also tiny. It's like,
it is crazy.
so it's 2 finger width.
When you see a picture of the Iris and you don't see it compared against something, you have this assumption like it's a lot bigger than it is, but they are incredibly small.
Here's like a standard kind of tube optic that you guys have. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but as you can see, it's about the same width as just like a tube optic, which is crazy.
Factor and reducing the weight as well too. It's like that's obviously another aspect.
Yeah.
Like if you do have all these bells and whistles on the gun, start to really add up on the weight side of things. The LS series previously, very built like a tank, super great lasers.
I used to have a few of them, yeah.
Dude, they're great, but the Illuminator obviously has kind of been that issue that everyone's been asking for an update for. That's where you get the Iris 3. So real quick before we move on to that, we have the Iris 2, which is going to be 2 lasers, visible laser and an IR laser. Iris 2 is going to come with a single pressure pad as well as the Iris 1. We moved to the Iris 3. This kind of come with a dual pressure pad with the Viz override. You guys are probably already familiar with the Iris 3.
There's many videos out on that thing, and this thing is
couple.
Well, we did a pre-order, and I think it's sold out in like 20 minutes. So it's been pretty crazy.
The demand is through the roof for this. It's going to take us a little while to get the amount of production units out that everybody wants, but we're working on it very, very quickly. So you take the Iris 3, which is going to have a 60 milliwatt IR VCSEL illuminator, an IR laser, a Viz laser. Take all those features, and now we slam them into the Iris 4, and now we've added basically our PID series white light. So you have 1,000 lumens, 20,000 candela, all in an incredibly small form factor with an 18650. So
this thing, we tested this out on the range sheet you guys had last night. Yeah, surprisingly, a lot of people ask about an all-in-one kind of device, and the problem with a lot of all-in-one devices, this means white light, IR illuminator, and Viz laser, is they tend to get huge.
There's only so much space to put stuff, right?
This guy is about the same size as other lasers on the market, so it's not that big. It's the size of it's actually very similar in size to your older lasers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but it's got an actual white light in it that's not like this 100 lumen.
It's a very, very effective
2 candela kind of white light. Yeah.
It's still that PDW length distances. You're probably still going to run this on maybe a shorter rifle, home defense build, Flux 3 or something like that.
For sure.
But with the capability that you get out of it, I mean, you guys tested it last night in the range.
Very impressive.
It's a very bright unit. And the cool thing, too, is that all of this is housing an 18650 battery.
That's super common, rechargeable. Yeah.
Super easy to get, super common. You can charge it if you need to. No external charging cables that are unique. Just open it up, put the USB-C cable in there, and you're off.
And the same kind of slider focuser that you guys are using on the Iris 3.
Yeah, and then we shifted over the fire buttons to make it easier for you to activate your white light or the IR. They both have different kind of tactile feels to them, so you're in kind of miniature. So you'll know pretty quickly.
And what's nice is they're in the back. Some lasers, they have the fire button like here, and that's not great. So
not the best.
An amazing UI that's based on the laser itself. But one thing that I want to go over is the fact that it actually comes with a very good switch.
Yep, dual lead, crank, or triple lead switch. So you have your Viz override, whatever laser settings, and your white light setting.
Because if normally you were to buy this kind of switch aftermarket, that's going to set you back a few $100.
Yeah, the switches side of things, I think, is a lot of people are kind of sleeping on the value that you're getting out of the box.
100%.
So, I mean, you're getting an Iris 3 at $899 map, and you get the dual lead switch, or the dual button.
And it's a very good switch. It's small, it mounts nicely. I mean,
it's already an additional $100 savings minimum to get that set up.
Exactly.
With the triple button, the cool thing about this is that it's actually 2 crane ports that come down to the bottom of it. So we will sell this as a standalone unit, so you can buy this if you have a Raid or an Iris 3, so you can combo those together.
So you can buy this switch as a separate thing.
We're going to work on having all the switches available for separate purchase.
That's awesome, because I think the switch market as well as the laser market, is kind of lacking a little bit in innovation.
I mean, we're talking, Holosun obviously comes in at a crazy good price.
Yes.
And we're looking at
Yes.
single lead switches for maybe $25, $30. But then sort crane ports, maybe 50, 60. Triple buttons, maybe close to that 80, 90 price point.
I have my coworker behind the camera, and we know how much we spend on switches for all our stuff. So that's a big savings for like these buttons.
And the thing is, it's not it's never just one rifle. You have a bunch of different setups. Of
course.
Easy to do different setups. Yeah. And it's like, it adds up very, very quick. And that's kind of what, obviously us over here, we really try to focus on is like providing as much value out of the box as we can. So I will ask you, this is $8.99. What do you expect the Iris 4 to cost?
That's a great question. I'm going to say, so normally if you were to get this in a white light, the white light would probably be like $200-$300. Canadians, it's probably going to be like $1 million.
It's a little much.
I guess a little much with our conversion rate right now. But I'm going to say US, 1,100?
$9.99.
Damn, I was actually gonna go higher. I was gonna guess 12.
For about $1,000, you get an all-in-one unit that really encompasses everything you'd want to do it. For most people shooting, I mean, a lot of people out there are asking like, hey, how does this look at 500 yards or 400 yards? And I'm like, I don't know where you guys are shooting at night for like 500 or 600 yards. I think for most people, that 50 yards and in kind of thing like PEW that you're talking about, this is more than enough candela and light output to do it. We might come out with like a pro version down the road or something that really increases that candela. But as soon as you do that, your housing starts getting crazy.
I mean, look at the size of this, right?
There's only so many ways to increase the horsepower out of the light, and you got to have a good bezel to do that.
There's physics involved.
Yeah,
but you guys definitely squeezed as much as you could into that, and that was really impressive. So I think we did see this guy tease a little bit, but some of these other guys are a little bit new.
Yeah, 100%. So continuing on that IR spectrum, we now have the new PID Pro. So the cool thing about this is continuing with the 4-in-1 unit. This is going to be a 4-in-1 pistol unit. This has white light, IR illumination. The IR illumination is going to be a 350 milliwatt LED.
Okay.
So it's just a really nice wide spread.
Yeah, well, for a pistol, that makes most sense.
Right. Yeah. And we've talked about going to maybe a VXL option on this. That's a really, really wide and just a set focus. This is still very much in development, so there's going to be some changes to it. The cool thing about this is we have the lasers dead center, so whatever gets underneath the board, it's easy to zero those and get those configured.
That's really good, especially for a pistol.
Yeah, 100%. And these ones right now are stacked side by side. We're going to rotate that inside there so the lasers are
all in line. Okay.
Yeah, just to make it super easy. The cool thing about this, though, is the fact that this is going to be coming in at a price point of like $499, somewhere in there. Maybe a little cheaper, maybe a little more. We're talking about adding some crane ports to it, so potentially if you do run a fluctuator or you don't want to have it on a pistol.
Yeah.
The holster fitment obviously is kind of one of the big things. You buy a new light, you want it to fit a holster. With these kind of like all-in-one units, it's very rare to find like something that can actually fit that in there. So we might do some revisions to see what we can do, but like I said, there's always some limitations with how much actual horsepower you can push out of these small bezels.
So all these 4 buttons, there's 2 on each side. They activate the different modes.
So right now it's configured where right-hand side is going to be your visible spectrum and left-hand side is going to be your IR spectrum. So as you come out of the holster or you have it, to gun whatever you pick it up, your right fingers are going to run all your normal, like, hey, I want a flashlight, hey, I want a laser.
Right.
And then when you do need that IR, you just switch over to left. But you can totally configure that however you want to do it. So you can have the buttons set up differently.
It's programmable?
Right now, the current prototypes are programmable. We'll see how that ends up being for the final production ones. But yeah, with these ones right now, you can do some switches to get them kind of. You don't have any white light NDs. If you're like purposely going into just, hey, we just need IR right now, you can set it up to where it locks out all the white lights of vis lasers.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
It's running off 2 CR123s.
Just going to ask that. So it just opens in the bottom and 2 CR123s. Yeah. Okay. That's
so
very
room into candela, still a little kind of work in progress on that. I think we said it's like 8,000 lux and 400 to 600 lumens in there.
Okay.
And then the vis laser and IR laser obviously is a standardized.
I mean, that's not bad for a all-in-one device for the bezel of this light being that small. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously if we could increase the size to get more horsepower in the white light, I think that's something that we're kind of looking into considering to see if we can maybe inset some of the lasers in the cone. It just takes a little bit of time and practice kind of figure it out. I just love how it looks as like a Sam Fisher trio kind of vibe.
Yeah, it looks like a Sam Fisher thing or like the Predator kind of reticle with the 3 reticles. Yeah, this thing looks pretty cool. I was trying to find a perfect GIF to comment on your Instagram post about that, but I couldn't find it. So that's exactly what I was thinking. So I'm glad we're on the same page with in regards to that.
It's a really cool unit, something kind of new for us to just kind of flex, hey, we can make some other stuff in the IR spectrum as well too. So that kind of rounds out the IR stuff for this year. Moving towards the right-hand side, we have the new PID-K. So the cool thing about the PID-K series, last year it was a lot very big and boldy. Holster fitment was definitely going to be a consideration. These ones, we're going to design it right out of the box to fit a TLR7.
That's amazing.
Right, if you already got the
That's
holster,
amazing.
Everybody's got a TLR7 holster, I feel like, at this point. You'll now be able to run this in there no problem. Takes a 16340 rechargeable USB-C battery. So you can open it up, plug your USB-C.
Okay, you're ready.
Their specs on this are still a little in development. I want to say it's going to be around 800 to 1,000 lumens with 20 to 25,000 candela.
It's really impressive for a compact pistol light.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're shooting for. I think the biggest thing for me, though, about this light in particular is the fact that this whole mounting system right here is on like a rail. So you can actually move the light back and forward while keeping the mount in the same position.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, it's cooler than like when the gun is perfectly flush with the flashlight on.
Oh, yeah.
It sits perfectly. Or if you got short fingers or you got long fingers, you can now move this back and forth to get it to sit exactly where you want. The buttons on here are still kind of a work in progress. I think maybe they're a little too spongy. We might come back to the drawing board on those, kind of see where we end up at. But so far, this is the current prototype, getting a lot of feedback at the show. People are pretty excited about it. I think having more competitors in the TLR7 space, I mean, the subcompact guns are just so common these days with 365s and all that stuff. So.
I love the fact that you guys actually embrace the competition and you use it to push the product forward. I think I know a lot of people were talking about this guy, how it took forever, but they definitely took the feedback that all of us, including ourselves, even took it into account. And
that's such a big thing for us. It's like,
yeah.
I'm totally accessible. Like, if you guys follow me on Instagram or you message me on Discord or wherever, like, I'm answering questions all the time. I get that feedback. I see what you guys are saying. Maybe a little too much, as you and I can see on the Discord.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we get that. If you guys are watching this, you know who we're talking to. Exactly.
But, it's one of those things where getting that feedback is so paramount to everything that we do. Because at the end of the day, all of these products are built for the consumer and with those people in mind to not break the bank. Like, I'm so tired of everything costing so much to get something
100%
that actually works.
100%.
And I think that's, obviously evident with the Iris series. We let that one cook in the oven for, quite a few extra months. Takes a little time to work with the FDA on side of things as well, too. But we were able to get it out in exactly 1 year. So definitely beat a couple other people to the punch. But at the same time, this has never been a better time to be like into optics or lasers or anything like that. There's so much cool stuff on the market.
There's a lot of innovation in that space, too. I would even say sometimes more so than the night vision space is going to be the accessories, the optics, yeah.
I mean, night vision as it is kind of somewhat solved. There's only so much you can do with it.
The tech's been there since like the 50s and 60s at this point.
Things, you can make some, fancy bang thing, but I think the accessories are really where we can try to start saving some money to buy better tubes, right?
Well, speaking of accessories, this thing over here is one of the coolest things that I've seen, and this was the Wizard Brain thing we talked about last year, but you guys definitely have refined a lot more. We did get some B-roll of it in the range day last night.
So you got a chance to shoot it yesterday then, right?
I got a chance to shoot it, and we also got a chance to actually put a camera behind it and film what it looks like through nods, which is we're
awesome.
Hopefully going to be the first ones to do that. But yeah, go over this thing with us. I don't even know how to describe it.
So this is a digital pistol and sights. It's a thermal, and basically the whole object of this is to have a thermal sensor on the bottom that's wirelessly communicating with the optic that sits
just so crazy, man. That's like some cyberpunk optic.
It is honestly really, really cool. And so this basically has an OLED screen inside of it that's relaying the thermal into there and then projecting that onto the screen. The cool thing about this that I try to explain to people is that, oftentimes people will compare our thermals to a standard thermal with a screen that,
your standard, Falcon style thermal, whatever, yeah.
Right.
But
these are very different in the fact that it's a pass-through overlay system. So you use this like a red dot 90% of the time, and then when you need that thermal, you're like, hey, who's in the bush over there? Then you can click it on and see very quickly what's going on. So the cool thing about this too, though, is I really I'll put it in the lower brightness settings in outline mode.
Yeah.
And under nods, it is awesome. It looks so cool.
Yeah, so the way I describe these, because this is basically like a DRS-TH for a pistol.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. The way I describe it is people think of it as like a replacement for traditional thermal optics. It's not.
Right.
It's more of like a COTI for your eyeballs.
Exactly.
So you can use a COTI in the daytime. You don't have to have it mated to your nod, so it's only usable at night. It's basically that for your eyes. So if you're doing any quick PID stuff, you can just pull it up, do like a scan, and then you have thermal signal. It's pretty awesome.
I have this personally mounted on a fluctuator with a small riser.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Incredible this.
That's so cool.
And it's like you can have a backpack gun now with a ridiculous amount of rounds on it. You have an optic that has a battery life that's going to be insane crazy. If you want to use the thermal, you're going to get about a 1 hour runtime on the battery.
Okay.
This comes with some spare batteries, so it's super easy to swap it in and out. But, you basically have a thermal on deck when you need it, but you have a red dot for all of the other times. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that buy this optic just because it's an enclosed, huge windowed optic, especially because the price point for this is going to be about $1,000.
Wow.
So, you get the whole for about $1,000.
$1,000 for the whole package. I was going to guess about $2,200, like around the DRS price for that. Yeah.
I mean, you think
it's the same tech.
You take the DRS and you shrink it. If you shrink stuff, usually the cost goes up. Trades out with this system, really not too much of an issue to do. This also has a white lens built into it as well on the bottom.
Yeah.
We're kind of still refining that to see how it's going to.
I saw that, and that was just kind of like you think of everything. It was like the corkscrew in the Swiss Army knife. You're like, oh man, they got that too. That's crazy.
It's a really cool. It was last year as a proof of concept. This year it's becoming more of a product that's going to be
much more refined this year. And like when we were using it, other than the battery, like people just using it so much that we had to swap batteries through the mid-range recession. But that's no fault of the optic. It was really reliable. I was really surprised at how well the connection worked.
Yeah, I think that a really fun thing is like when you're shooting paper, you can actually see the heat of the bullets passing through it.
Yeah.
It's a very sensitive sensor. I think a lot of times people will say like, oh man, I like the DRS, but I wish they made it in a bigger sensor. And the reality is that the sensor is being displayed on an OLED screen. The OLED screen only has so much resolution that it can possibly display.
Yeah.
If we increase the sensor size, it just increases the cost, and then you don't have the ability to really even relay that data in a meaningful way because the OLED screen is going to be capped at what it is. So we could increase some of the specifications, but it just requires OLED technology to get a little further ahead than what it is right now.
You might need to increase price and size and all that stuff. There's always a fine balance between like
pros and cons for everything.
Exactly. And just to add on to this thing, I think a really interesting application for that will be as like a piggyback optic for a LPVO or something like that. With that thing, that'd be pretty crazy for quick detection capability.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cool ideas, applications to it. And sometimes we just make something and it's just cool for the sake of being cool, and then people find out all these other cool ideas to do with it. And like I think the evac thing is going to be pretty awesome as well too.
That'd be pretty cool. Love to see a setup with that. So get all the upvotes you can.
It's basically kind of the rifle optics for this year. We looked at a lot of our legacy lines that people know and love from us and said, hey, how can we refine this, kind of update it for the 2025? So we have our new ARO optics. So this is the replacement for the 403 and 503.
That's what I have.
So they're just great optics, and they're super affordable.
That thing has gone through a lot of mud, dirt, and crawling through trenches and all that stuff.
So these are basically the update for that. So a new housing that kind of matches our magnifiers. Comes with a new skeletonized mount. With a
very nice.
Super sturdy. Still a T1 footprint. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So if you got aftermarket mounts, you can use that no problem. The cool thing about these, though, is the price point. On the low end, you're looking at $159.
Wow.
And then on the high end for like green or some of the multi-reticles, you're looking at like $180 to $200. So it's really kind of just an incredibly affordable thought that has everything you need.
Cross bolts, no more QD stuff.
Correct.
Which seems like that's what people want nowadays.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then night vision settings, obviously.
Yep. That has 2 night vision settings on the low end and then 10 viz settings.
Okay.
We have a MRS version that has 8 night vision settings with 4 night vision settings with 8 on the highest on the first.
Very nice.
Cool thing though is that we're going to be offering this now in a gold dot as well as the green and the red. So expanding kind of the color options for people out there.
I never used the gold dot until yesterday, and I was actually pretty surprised how well that gold dot looked.
It's like something like
pretty cool.
2% of the population could possibly have yellow color blindness, so it's an incredibly minimal amount of people. So if you have a red or a green, you suffer from it, gold might be a great option for people to try. So just trying to increase the options for people.
So accessible. We love that here.
The next thing on the list is we have the ARO Evo. So this is basically the big brother to the little ARO. This is a 26 millimeter tube sight, so letting a little more light transmission through there. For most people that are shooting, both eyes open, not that big of a deal, but having a bigger window can be nice, especially if shooting on your nods. You get a little more light coming through. It kind of helps it. These ones will come with the 2 flip caps and an anti-reflection device. That's going to be pulled separately, but basically everything you see here for the 26 millimeter tube sight is how it's going to come. So. Same T1 mounts. Price point on these is around $199, and it kind of scales out from there. The one caveat to that, I would say, is that these have the new SPR reticle inside of them. So it's going to be a ranging dot as well as having a little ranging features on the side. You can pick and choose to control a whole bunch of features inside there. It's got a 65 MOA ring, 2 MOA dot, and 1 MOA dot holdovers as well as...
Oh, I see the ranging reticle. I see press hold minus, same UI as your legacy sites. Yeah.
You can rotate through and find whichever one you want to use, but having the ability to have a little bit of holdovers for, put a magnifier behind that.
That'd be very cool.
I really like this with the magnifier because the magnifier is roughly the same size. So you just get this, it's just aesthetically, it looks great. And you have the added benefit of if you're going to use a 3X, you can actually have some holds to actually do some stuff.
So what's really cool is you can configure, and I'm not sure if I can show this on camera, but you can configure the optic to have that kind of donut of death, classic dot, with the little ranging reticle without, and then you can even have just the dot with the ranging reticle, which is really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of options inside.
Yes.
We wanted to make it something that's very usable and simplistic, but also gives you more features if you want it, Following that up, we took a look at our AIM series and we said, okay, what are the things most people are kind of not happy with or they want to see changed.
One of the best NV optics, by the way. People sleep on the aims. It's one of the best night vision optics out there on the market.
It's about to get a lot better too, because they've actually increased the parallax in this by like 50% improvement.
Nice.
There were some fisheye effects that would happen before. The new Ames Pro comes with an anti-reflection device built into the front housing. So you'll have the honeycomb pattern in there. If you don't want to use that, you can just swap it out and put the piece of glass back in there. Just, try to add more features. The biggest thing for people was the mounts. People were kind of upset about the mounts of the previous editions. Now we've got a nice cross bolt. It's very simplistic, just a 4-post design, very minimal. But we didn't change anything on the actual footprint itself. So if you have aftermarket Ames mounts, you can just run those. It's not.
Oh, that's great. There's actually a pretty growing market for aftermarket Ames mounts.
Yeah. We don't want to reinvent the wheel because we know it sucks. That thing sucks more like a new optic comes out. You're like, oh, I don't have any mounts for it, or oh, I can't use my old one. It's like that's the worst. So price points on these are going to remain the exact same as they were last year. So we're just keeping the same prices, updating new features and new mounts for you guys just to keep it simple. So the last thing on the list, if there was enough to cover already, is going to be a 3x prism sight. We actually showed this on like 2 years ago, but the DRS was just coming out around that time period, so this really got overshadowed, and people were that excited about it. But we've had a lot of requests for people saying like, hey, when are you guys going to get more into the magnified optics game? I don't know that we're ever going to get into LPDOs. I mean, space is kind of pretty much sorted at this point. I feel like there's a lot of options for that.
Getting eye relief to about here for the sides, pretty good.
Yeah, but the micro prism thing is really good for those people with astigmatisms. Honestly, that's really what the bread and butter of this is. We might make a 1x, voice spore swaps down the road. This is still very much a work in progress. The goal for this is also to be T1.
I was looking at that. That's exactly what I was looking at. I was like, this looks like a T1 style footprint, which is kind of crazy.
Stuff with like kind of stacking things if you want to, or like dots over the top, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, you could run like this over something and have a lower power at the bottom.
Also talking about possibly having an extended part on the front here, so you can mount an arm or optic on top.
Oh wow, okay. Very cool.
Whatever you want to do.
Very cool.
But yeah, these ones are kind of just like a proof of concept. It's still got a little more time in the oven to cook. But the other cool thing about it is, like I said, it is etched glass. It comes with a red and a green LED emitter, so you can pick and choose between red or green in the same unit. You don't have to buy like one or the other ones.
Oh wow, the emitter is it's pretty bright too.
It gets very bright.
Yeah.
Like it gets very red dot bright for the daytime.
It's also got like a bunch of settings, like colors.
Yep. Yeah. You can rotate through. Yeah, and the cool thing is, I mean, the prism sights, I think this year, they're going to be right around that $300 price.
Okay, wow. Very affordable.
It might end up being a little cheaper than that. It might end up being a little bit more, like I said, kind of still in development. It depends on how many more bells and whistles you want to add to it. But that's kind of the product lineup for this year.
That's a lot for this year.
A ton of cool new stuff.
Yeah.
I say it every year. We have more stuff that comes out at SHOT Show than, it's so impossible to keep up with sometimes. We have so much new stuff always coming down the pipeline. And this doesn't include any of the prototype fun stuff that we're working on that I can't talk about. Well, maybe when the cameras are off, but we always got a lot of stuff cooking in the oven.
Well, sorry guys, we won't let you see that stuff for now. But thanks so much, Josh. It's always a pleasure meeting up with you at SHOT Show and discussing all these products. And already the Iris is proving to be super popular, so I think you guys are going to crush it with this product lineup coming into 2025. Thanks for watching, everybody.
See you guys.